Okay, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much, the festival, to be me, the honor to be with him, that at least for me is the most significant filmmaker nowadays. Of course, when I say that, he doesn't like to be listened to that, but I prefer to be honest and to be polite. Last time that I had been here presenting another filmmaker was a filmmaker that almost nobody knows, who was José Celestino Campuzano. So at that moment, I was introducing him for 15 minutes, but that won't be the case, because Pedro Costa is like to be talking about Messi. And I don't have to introduce him. So my plan is just to go ahead to what we have to do, is to talk about cinema and to talk about his cinema and to talk mainly about his last film, which is Vitalina Varela. My idea, Pedro, in fact, we had been talking in the last 4 months by chance, because we were together in September in Hamburg, then in Vienna in October. We were about to be in Chile in November, but finally, because Chile is a mess, we didn't go. And now I was not expecting to be here with you. So it's like to be in an ongoing conversation about a couple of things that we have been talking. And my idea today is to add something else, because we have more time. And it would be to try to think about cinema in general through your particular vision of cinema, and to get as an example in order to explore and expand what cinema is for you or for us or for everybody here through Vitalina Varela. So that's my idea to do today. I remember the last conversation we had was in Malva, in Buenos Aires, in December. We were presenting Vitalina Varela. And in a certain moment, usually when someone is listening to you, you mention big filmmakers or filmmakers that for you are extremely, you love, like, of course, John Ford, Mizoguchi. And many people, when write about your films, they usually quote those filmmakers, Trujillo and so on. But I like to, if you can talk in a different way about how do you feel as someone who is doing cinema in the 21st century, and in certain ways feels what does it mean to cinema, what does it mean a tradition in cinema. So it's not just big names, it's something, a kind of common feeling, a common sense of what is cinema, or what was cinema, or what could be cinema. And this is one of the first approach. Plus, something that I was surprised when we were talking about Vitalina Varela was that you mentioned at the moment that a film that you felt very close to Vitalina Varela was Diary of a Country Priest, the Bresson film. So let's start from there, and then we'll go on. It's okay for you?
Yes. The sky is impossible. Impossible. And I don't know if this is completely Chinese to you, what he said, Bresson, things like this. Is this already Chinese? Okay. Because, I said no to Sundance to be here, so I hope you are... No, it's not. I thought, like Benno said, this is more fun, but... And I think you know more about things than they do back there. Yeah. So, Bresson, John Ford, everything, things that matter for us, that used to matter. But it's a long, complicated question. I don't know, the films I do now and the films I've been doing, they are so, closed in a way, closed. When we are making them, we are so closed and so removed from. It's what I need. It's what I want. I need. It began, I don't know, 20 years ago or something. I felt I needed to. I felt it then, 20 years ago, but I felt it in a personal way that I didn't like what I was doing, you know. But it was not the. It was not. I knew I wanted to do something, and it was film. It was not writing. It was not painting. It was not photography. It was film. But I didn't like the way film was done and is done. The way the economy of film still exists, with all its, you know, vices. And I felt at that moment, so a long time ago, that it could kill or it could send me away from the most important part of this job, this work, which is for me. So I don't want to be very heavy or now, but in cinema you really need a certain. Let's start with intimacy, intimacy, something. And maybe a little solitude, maybe, I think. Certainly, I think. So all these guys you've been talking about, and cinema itself, I think it's, let's go. It's something about solitude, all the time. When we do it, what you see is you are completely alone in a movie theater. Even if you think you share something with 10,000 people that are with you, or 10 people, or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, it's about you. It's about your solitude. That's what I feel what I always feel, and makes me very afraid and very lonely when I am in front of someone I'm filming. It's not a party. It's not, you know. It can become something joyful but it's a moment when it's a matter of life and death. It's a moment when, you know, it doesn't take a lot of courage. It's not a matter of courage, not a matter of bravery, but it takes another kind of bravery, which is you have to know what you are doing. So I'm not sure if we know what we are doing today. I'm not accusing my colleagues or cinema, but I see that we are, you know, even here in Rotterdam, we are, you know, we don't know what we are doing. And cinema, being this thing about intimacy and loneliness, should be something that you know, concentrate and focus on something. And this something, it's very simple. It's seeing something. It was with John Ford and Bresson and, you know, Buster Keaton, someone I never talk about, and Stroheim and Wang Bing and Godard and sometimes some colleagues of mine from today, sometimes myself. We see something, and we hear something too. And this is the art of cinema. It was the art, and the beauty of cinema is to make you see. To make me see first, and then to make you, and all of you, see something. And it could be a class of how to see and how to hear things. But then this world is what it is, I mean, today. And this art has so much, it's it's a bit slippery. It's a bit. There's a very great. Today, let's go. I'm just talking about my old friends. Jacques Rivette, great filmmaker and writer. He used to say that cinema was only about fascination and rape. That's the rape part, which is difficult, because that's the part you have to be careful. And an art form that has this fascination, it's obvious. The rape, it's obvious. If you work in it, you know. If there are filmmakers here or people that you know what we're talking about. The organization of a shooting crew, everything that involves cinema, I mean, from a shooting crew to Sundance, to the Oscars, to a very short film, Argentinian short film in the smallest section in Rotterdam. It's dangerous. I don't think it's that dangerous in rock and roll, for instance. It's good or bad, but in cinema it's much more difficult. You know, it's much more. You could see something good and then something shining in a young guy and then lost forever in the second film. Maybe it exists. Well, I'm talking about rock and roll from my old days, so today I don't know, but or painting or photography, or it's it involves money, which is terrible. Cinema, I mean, it involves a lot of money or some money. And when money comes into play, we know it's fucked up completely. You know, it's the solution would be to burn the money first, but it's not possible. But I still think the responsibility, it's the first and last time I'll use this word, for a filmmaker and young, and I see quite young faces here, so it would be to think about the economy of your film, please, please. Because that's fundamental. If you know that you're not wasting money and not going around the world getting money for something that doesn't need that money, that much money, that may be the first step, or not even an idea, but a first step to think about your film. So you ask me about those names, those filmmakers. They are still the ones that I see at home and DVD, and I want to buy a Blu-ray here. True. I always go back to them because that's where you learn things. I'm not saying there are not good things today. I'm not saying less things today. I mean, less. If you think about 58 or 59 or 60, just go and see the films that were made those years, and not to seem very old, I mean, think about rock and roll, 77, 78, 80. It does not compare. It does not compare because there was still, I think, a small grain of there was the art, there was the poetry, good or bad sometimes. I mean, you can discuss. But there was a bit of politics, economics, sociology, etc., etc. And these are words that I insist in using because maybe people that see my films do not associate that, but I have to do an enormous work, which is not a sacrifice, to do my films, which is sociological, which is anthropological, which is economical, accountable, accounting, things that are a little bit dirty, a little bit far from the art of making films or something. And I like doing this work, this research to do a film. And I think it's better to do this work than to write a script. That's my idea. It's perhaps stupid, but it's better to go somewhere, meet somewhere, and try to understand everything about this person, or these people, or that place, or that castle, or that river, but really everything, from the dinosaurs, than to write something in your bedroom. It will go nowhere. The things you write alone, it will go. No, I'm thinking of. I'm not in school. You're not going to make films, I hope. There's enough films in the world. Please don't do more. John Ford, Bresson, you should see them, you should keep seeing them. The last few months and years I've been having nightmares about some friends that I had, like Rivette, or a very good friend called Straub, Jean-Marie Straub, that was here a lot. It was here that I met for the first time Jean-Marie Straub and Daniel Huyer. For me, the greatest filmmakers of modern cinema. We met downstairs in the bar. And I have this nightmare that they will be forgotten soon, if this goes on like this. If this goes on like this. And I don't want to talk a lot about this, But the things that are around filmmaking and films and making films and getting money for films today, as we see in this festival, are obnoxious. There's no other word. It's terrible. You don't make films like this. You don't make a photograph like that. You make a film with your guts, with your heart, and today you can make it alone without pitching anything. Don't pitch anything to anyone, please. It's not. Are we going again? Trump is marching anti-abortion today, and that's pitching. That's pitching. For me, don't pitch anything. It's a secret. Film is a secret. Cinema is. You have to really take it seriously and keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself, to your girlfriend, to your boyfriend, to your actor. Do not shout out loud, That's one of the reasons that films are not that good anymore, or most of them. Because, it takes a long time to finance a film for a lot of people. You have to, go around and around and around, producers and sales agents, and there's too many people around the filmmaker, the poor filmmaker, But you have in your pocket, I have an iPhone, you all have iPhones. Yesterday I was shooting with an iPhone, it was great. Great, no problem at all. If I want to do a little bit of lighting, I can call a friend, I can try it alone. You have LEDs, you have LED lighting, it's cheap. You can go a little bit over that and beyond that. It's possible, it's understandable, but that doesn't mean, revealing things. This is not about revealing things. Cinema is not to reveal anything, it's to hide, I think. It's to hide, to keep it to yourself a little bit. It's the only way to give it to somebody else. It has to be the most beautiful gift. Your film, it has to be, it's like when you go, you think about the gift for your father, your mother, your girlfriend, You know, you think about what, and then you go to a shop and 2 shops and 3 shops, and sometimes you do it yourself. I'm going to do something, and then you wrap it in paper, and that's your gift. You're not pitching that in a, I mean, you don't, there will be pitching, there must be pitching of gifts. No, there must be, at least in the United States. Must be classes of pitching for gifts for, I mean, I'm just, you know, I've been here in 89, 90 with my first film. It's another world, you know. I cannot describe. I mean, I don't know if there is anyone from that day. It's, I mean, Raul Ruiz and Yossi Eliani, and Straub didn't like that guy, and I didn't like the other guy, and the other guy didn't like me, but we were all together, and we all saw things in everybody's films, and we had a common enemy and we are friends because of that common enemy. Probably it's that, because we have enemies, and I never thought it would come to this, really. Never would have well, digital is a big part of this problem. But I think, let's say, capitalism in general is the problem. It always has been. But I never thought that filmmakers would be so passive, so that they would go with the wave so easily. And I don't know, I don't want to go on and on with these things, but you just think about, you don't have to think, I will think for you, but about the notion of sales agents. I hope there's no one of that profession in this room. Just think for 10 seconds. Again, second time, obnoxious. It's like creating, you know, you have a camera, you can put filters in it. It's a filter. It's a filter between you and something else. That's what a sales agent is. If you want that, sure, great, but I mean, 30 years ago, to think that there would be this kind of people that would conjure, prepare, think, analyze the film, your career for you, that would sell you, makes no sense, you know. It makes no sense that there is a guy who's selling you. Even selling your film, it's already strange, but that you have to eat and pay rent, that's something else. It's from the beginning of times. But to be crushed under the boot of capitalism like we are, filmmakers, I'm sorry, I think, I mean... So now, I don't know, I think that those lessons of going back to John Ford was if you'd like, a super reactionary American right wing or something, but, well, try to see that one night with a glass of whiskey alone, and perhaps you'll change your... Try to see, I don't know, the long gray line. You've never seen most well-crafted, thought, beautifully filmed film about death. And I will defy anyone to discuss that with me, with you. It's the most beautiful thing anyone has ever made about dying, about losing, about losing. Like this film I made now, I made it because it was there for me to do it. It was nothing that I invented. It's also a film about saying goodbye, in a way, saying goodbye to someone, in this case, someone that died. And so this woman that I filmed, this lady, we knew it was going to be 2 hours or 3 hours of learning to say goodbye. So you can You can do it the pitch way, you can do it the Sundance way, you can do it the sales agent's way, or you can do it your way. And your way never coincides with these ways. That's my idea. It has to be your idea. I'm talking like if you're going to all to make films again. I'm sorry, but I have the idea that... no, it's the idea that we still can save something, but... and again, doesn't mean that there are not good films around. There are. I have very great colleagues, my age, younger, older. I just think we are weaker than our fathers. Weaker in the sense that some have really to pay rent and to pay bills, and you know, they do I don't know, Euro. You used to call it Euro pudding. You know, actor from Spain, France, an Argentinian one, very good now, and you set it in Barcelona and somewhere, and maybe we can sell that in Cannes and something, and then you have a career, and then you do 3, 4, 5, and well, there's that thing, but I think we're weaker. We don't. I don't really think, but that's a very long discussion, and I really don't think those guys in Hollywood, especially Hollywood, because that's the films that, I'm sorry, that were my ground, they didn't think about that much. They had a salary monthly. I mean, they get paid. They did this and that, romantic comedy, musical, etc., or cowboys. They did the best thing they could, and sometimes they thought, maybe I can squeeze something here. So I don't know. I discovered a lot of things when I was young in that Hollywood planet Hollywood, the old one, that were amazing. I mean, for me, as high as, I don't know, what you think is high, Beckett, I don't know, Beckett, let's say, or Rilke, or things like that, they are up there. I mean, they're, if you're not, yeah. So, I don't know, it's a big, Bresson is a bit, you talked about Bresson because more and more, think, it's this, I'm a bit afraid, so I'm going, when you're afraid, you're going back a little bit. It's like my film. When you're a little bit afraid, you go back. No. You're in philosophy, you know. It's this, no. You tend to go back. You don't. You go back like to the mother or something like that. And Vitalina in my film, she goes back. She goes back to the land. She goes back to the sun, to the bare feet, to. And I'm going back to, you know, to this Chaplin and to like a salvation, like something to, you know, to be also comfortable, to be amused, to be more than amused, to be, you know, to just give me the strength to put a shot against another shot. I thought when I began this business, I thought it was the most difficult thing in the world. To have a shot and then you put this shot. It's like, you have to do it. It's a very difficult thing. Now, I mean, who cares? I mean, no, who cares? So what are we talking about? In fact, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. There was something that you said and you mentioned that I would like to take it in another context, but it's absolutely connected. I know very well that you don't satanize by no means the digital possibilities of cinema. On the contrary. And But that implies that it's very easy nowadays to record something with your phone and you believe immediately that you are a kind of James Benning or whatever, because you fix the iPhone and more or less the nature is nice. So, oh, I'm James Benning too, or whatever. But I have the feeling that digital cinema for you was in certain ways a way to achieve more possibilities, to have time to work and to wait and to work and to wait. And that kind of patience, to be patient in front of the objects, the subjects, the landscape, the space, the objects in general, makes you have a kind of particular sense of awareness and mind to be worked on. The digital at the same time is immediately. Just do it quickly. But you has taken the digital possibility in order to have more time. So I would like if you can say something on that, because I know you have a lot of things to say about that. And also I wanted to connect it for the very beginning, because for me there are few filmmakers nowadays in the digital era that in certain ways they make a bridge between the old times to our times, because it's very easy to have images, but it's very difficult to have a shot. Do you understand my question?
No. It's digital was my I wouldn't say salvation, but it was a solution to a kind of problem that I couldn't solve at that time. I was doing films that I more or less liked, but I didn't like the way I was doing them. I didn't have time to. I understood 2 or 3 things. I'm talking about my first film, my second film, and that's when filmmakers, try to discover their own voices, their own reasons, am I here, am I there, am I a night person, am I a day person, do I like actors, do I like to work with, this kind of things. And I think, and I thought I need time to think, because I'm slow. I have to discover what I see. That is a very strange problem in filmmaking that everybody tries to avoid. Every filmmaker tries to avoid this question. Just a few, and great ones, confront it like face to face. Godard, Straub for sure. For instance, just to name 2 more recent, I think Chaplin did it too. It was probably the first to see that he was not seeing it, The idea that you are going to film something before you see it, it's strange. It's an idea with a lot of, satellites, and not very good satellites. I mean, why are you doing something that you don't know what it is, more or less, You're going, it's like you're writing something in your bed at night and you say, I don't know, exterior night, she's dressed in a raincoat, she has nothing beneath, and she's crying in the middle of the street. Really? Let's talk about this more. Okay, let's talk about the sales agent, with the producer, etc. But do you talk about this with yourself or with your friend? If your friend is dumb as you are, okay, but if you're not dumb, you will say, no, she's not in the rain, she has not a raincoat. It's me with this pen now. That's the problem. It's going down and now back at again. See how movies are, There's no one close to Beckett or, I don't know, not even Beckett, Proust or, I don't know, Kleist again, close to that thing to really, spend 30 pages on something which is possible in a Faulkner novel or even in a Hemingway novel. It's possible. In cinema, it's not possible anymore. It's not possible. The guy downstairs who's doing the communication for your project will say, what? You want to spend 3 minutes on a glass of whiskey? Why? I don't know. I feel like, no. There's an arc and there's no... and there's Sundance and there's my money in my pocket. Well, I think we need time. We need time, all of us. It's not a bad request. I think it's amazing the way cinema has become an enemy of time. It's amazing. I mean, it's a pitiful thing. Running against time, time is money, etc., etc. Everything is awful. Every filmmaker in the world, big, small, have felt the same thing. A lot of them have told it even in interviews. Jean Renoir said it lots of times. I'm always saying the same thing. Jean Renoir. He always, if you go read his interviews when he was in America, especially in America, he did 5 or 6 films, I think, in Hollywood. And then he said, these films are very bad. They're very bad, which they were not, but they are not, because I don't have time to think. I don't have time to work with Robert Ryan, which is an actor I admire, and I cannot work with him. I want to work with Charles Lawton, and I cannot work with him. I want to shoot this magnificent landscape of Mississippi, and I don't have time. So bye-bye, I'm going away. And he did, and the film he did after that, it's the complete opposite, and you feel it. It's The River. It's a film made in India that I'm sure a lot of you know. It's one of the 10 most beautiful films. And it's a film not only about time, with time, for life, for life. Because that's the point. When you don't have time, you don't discover life. Life to be filmed. It's not to be, exploited or captured or pitched. It's to be filmed, simply. Handheld, static shot, traveling the way you feel it. But, thought about, prepared, analyzed. It's great, it's good. You don't have to be ashamed of, analyzing things with film. I mean, most of films today are bad because they are spontaneous. Spontaneity it's a big danger. I'm telling you, it's dangerous. Dangerous because it's another discussion. But time, and so digital gave me time. Yeah. I was running. I was told to do my shots in half an hour, and I did it sometimes, but I felt this has to change. I would like to know. And already at that moment I was approaching, I was already working in I felt I would like to be more, I would be closer to this. Now it's difficult because it's very pretentious or I would like to be closer to, or I don't know how to explain, nobody knows, but not to be so closed in fiction and stories and pay more attention to really to the stories of the world, you know, to reality. If there's a story there, you will discover, if you are patient, like you say, you will discover something interesting. But it really has to be interesting and not just funny or beautiful or whatever. It has to be interesting. It has to give you, you know, to desire to, you know, discover and think more, think. That's what I loved about rock and roll, is to think. Really, really, don't, you know, Pill. Do you know Pill? Johnny Rotten? That was a group that made you think. You danced like crazy and you thought about that thing. I don't know, it's, you know, it's... Or Wire, or even the Sex Pistols, or Clash a little bit. They're a bit more... Okay. So these art things, they used to make you think. Today it's more, you know. I think we had more time, we had more patience, we had more engagement, personal. The crews were smaller. They resembled more. That was my idea when I was shooting my second film. I thought, if this is like a band, because I had a band before, if this is 4, 5, maybe you can talk, you know. You can talk, you know. You're, watch out, that it's not. You see, and you see it. We all see what we do, and we can talk about that and stop and go to the beginning, etc. With a machine like cinema is, you know, I think it's Godard says that you just, cinema works by itself. You just put a film crew in the corner and they will do the film. The film will be made, and it's exactly that. The film will be made. Rain, shine, the actor is not well, have a cold. The film will be made. So when the small cameras appeared in 97 or 6 or something, I bought one and I decided to begin again. And I began alone. And then I got a guy to make the sound. And then I got a guy to help me with the lights. And then I got a guy to help us with what we call the production. I mean, the car, the sandwich, etc. So still now, all these years now, we are 4 or 5. Maybe 6 sometimes, maybe 7 when there's... And it's possible. It's difficult. It's difficult, like... It's always difficult. It's always very painful. It's always full of anxiety and problems. It's not an easy thing, the film. Easy, it's not... I mean, but my idea is that we should work we have time, so work for a long time, like, you know, like months, years, if possible. Of course, there's another side to this, which is it's also a prison, of course. It's a prison where you're afraid of not getting out. Afraid of not getting out, I mean, I think every filmmaker has had this nightmare once in his life, because a film is one film, and the guys who do 34 films are crooks, even John Ford, because the film is one film, and you are stuck in one film for the rest of your life. So I don't know if you saw Vitalina or one of my films. Every one of my films, my fear is I will be here for the rest of my life. How can I will not understand this woman, this boy, this girl in 6 weeks, in 2 months, in 1 year. I mean, it takes me 3 months just to see how she opens one eye, or when she's, when I made this one in Vanda's room, which is a long film, 3 hours. I remember every time Vanda said something or said, perhaps someone saw that film. It's a very life or death film. Every time she did this, for me was no. I have to think about this. I have to do it again and again and again, just to understand, to see all the connections. It's not only why is she like this, why is she killing herself. It's a very serious matter. So time is completely involved here. It's the most important thing in filmmaking. It's the most important thing, and it's the thing they don't give you. Again, go back to sales agent. You can ask everything. De Niro, elephants, but not time. Okay, De Niro, 5 elephants. Sean Penn, maybe 10 weeks. But not Sean Penn, De Niro, elephants, 3 years. Why? Because they don't want to do that. They are not into your thing, and etc., etc. Okay, you find this absolutely ridiculous. I don't. I really don't, because I think we are all in the same boat. Sean Penn, me, Straub. We should be. And somebody is wearing dark glasses in interviews, and it's not me. No, but time, it's, now there's time to do things. You can make films cheaply. You can do it, you can express yourselves, you can do poems, you can do great things. It's possible if you want to do them. Always has been, but today it's even more. Problem is to show them. But that's not a discussion we can have here, because we are where we are. I don't know where, looking there, but film festivals are very controlled. They are very, shall I say the word, corrupt. They are. It's not, banks are, society is, why not film festivals? They are. Families are composed, traditions, I'm here, I have no problem being here, probably you do a lot. And some people have more difficulties getting in or coming in or being, selected, etc. So there's mistakes, there's taste, there's something else very important that it wasn't there when I was younger, when I came here, or it's that younger guys than you and me, now, producers, sales agents, what is the word I should use? They are they are almost artists, you know. They are intellectuals. They are people coming from universities. You go talk to any sales agent here and they can talk 10 minutes about Yasujiro Ozu as well as you. Probably. Who? So, this guy wants to sell my film and he knows about Ozu. That's impressive. Any producer today, I mean, can have a conversation about Godard, let's say, I think. Godard, it's a bit old now, but I wouldn't say Apichapong or me or something, but, you know, I don't know, René or something. They are educated people, they are well-formed, they are they come from film studies sometimes, most of them. Film studies, which is a thing, something that didn't exist. I mean, when I started, there were film schools, but my film school was practical. I was, you know, charging the camera, editing, a lot of theory, but the theory at my time, I'm talking about 80, 77, 80 something, was, you know, Straub, Godard, and bit militant cinema, Glauber Rocha, and the good things and the good way, and it was clear, and bit of semiology, but yeah, well, that passed. And now it's really film studies. I mean, I've seen things about my films that, excuse me, I mean, it's absurd. So people that are on the side of production, on the side of distribution, on the sides of agencying, are like you filmmakers, like you directors. So there's a sort of camaraderie, complicity that changed everything. The producer I had only one producer and some co-producers. It's is here actually. He's a very interesting and amazing and almost a genius, I would say. But it was not that. I mean, it's a beast. It's an amazing guy who would rob banks, and I'm sure he played the casino to get your money. He lost, and he drove cars like he was not, and he could talk about Renoir at the same time. Yes, but he was older. He belonged to a certain, you know. So I think that changed a lot. This education of this side of cinema, all the side of cinema that was a bit dirty. I mean, the production, the money, the sandwich, you know, doing the schedules, the drivers, etc. Now it's very sophisticated. A driver can be, I mean, can have a thesis on Eisenstein. I mean, he's just driving the car. That changed a lot of things. So, cinema community, I mean, even broken in mainstream and this where I am and etc. It seems very apart, but they're not. It's not really. It's not. There's just people who have less money and people that have more money. So it's like in life. So film never broke this thing. What I thought is film can perhaps break this mirror, being a mirror of the worst society possible, this one. Perhaps making films can break this, but making them, you know, like when you are putting the camera and doing the shot, it's not 3 seconds, it's 3 million seconds just to find out where the camera should be placed, and etc., etc., and not shoot if the actor is a bit feverish or not well. We don't shoot. It's like a crime. It's like, you know, it's. So I was for that, and that's what I wanted to do. To not shoot when I didn't know what to do, not shoot when I was ill, not shoot when the actor was not well. Think more, or shoot 15 hours for 3 days, and people with me to do that, you know, to do much more than, and to invent another way of being and working in cinema. And then, if you're lucky, if you're working well, etc., maybe your film will be interesting and good, and that's involves a lot of things, luck also sometimes, a lot of work, luck, and organizing things, knowing what you're doing, knowing the house you're shooting, knowing the face you're shooting, knowing. So yeah.
I have many questions, but I don't know. I see the time over there. This is new. You say 33 minutes and 30 seconds. I would like to be now, and then maybe to open up the possibility that you can make. Sorry, I'm giving you the back. I didn't realize.
A lifetime. Q&As are ordered on this. It's very long. We need time to do this.
Yeah. Yes, for me, I think
now this film I did in Vanda's room. It's 20 years old now, and now it's 20 years old. So the first time I showed it in Paris, it was in a festival called Festival du Réel. And now they discovered it's 20 years old, so they invited this year me to go there and show the film and do this. When I was there 20 years ago with that film, what we were doing lasted for 7 hours. We had to change rooms 3 times. No, it was not a good experience for me. It was Festival du Réel. And this was the first film I did, what I've been telling you, with time, more or less sure of, you know, the basis of what I was doing. Not the artistic things, because I liked my first films too. It's not the art. I was more sure about Vanda because I knew, now I know how to make a film, you know. I know how to make a film. I know I need this money, I need 1 car or no car, and I need just, you know, a glass of water and 3 flowers. And for me, it was a relief because I know, thank you, John Ford and Bresson, a film can be made with 3 flowers and a glass of water. And all of those fucking guys downstairs, or I don't know where they are, will tell you, 3 flowers? It already has been made. You have to do something else. Or the big flowers? You mean big flower? No, just small flower. No. So it was possible. I was sure. I was more or less happy, yeah. Not with the result. The result was something for people to tell me, and she was more or less happy, Vanda, and we discussed it, and it was our film. It is our film, and it is what it is. It's very controversial and problematic, but I am, she is, so. But the way we did it, the way I discovered things, the way she gave me things, the way people gave me, or I had the feeling that this capturing reality, robbing or something was over for me. No machine that I use now can rob anything. I know, because I have time, you know, and I can stop that moment of robbing or violation or raping or I can think about that, and if I feel something is not quite there, and I can stop. I can always stop, you know. I can say there's no reason to make this, because that's another thing. There's a lot of films not to be made. There's films you have to do, and there's films you have not to do, if I could say. And why not? So that film, Wanda, I don't know if it's a documentary or a fiction or both. I don't know. I don't care, really. Never thought about that. Never will. A lot of people think about that for me, right, etc. And in that festival, that is devoted to reality, real, I had this 7 hours or more of discussion, but it was more attacking me. And I was trying to, you know, the puppets in the, you know, you throw balls and you try to. And at that time I couldn't defend myself and I couldn't answer because and I saw something very, I saw a lot of, how do you say, prejuicio?
Prejudice.
And, you know, but is she really suffering? Is she really drugging? It's real drugs? Are you paying her? Is this real life? And I couldn't answer. I could say yes, 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 or no, I didn't pay because I didn't have money. She paid me to make the film. And that was even more complicated because she was committing suicide more or less in real time, paying me to film her, and I liked that. And probably I was also drugging and smoking. So so I was very sad, really, because they didn't see the film. They just didn't see this girl. And so I thought maybe tomorrow, maybe in a few years, maybe, I don't know, maybe. But they went immediately, and I'm telling this not because of the film, because of festivals, because of how cinema is. Because it was Festival du Réel, so I'm very curious to go back this now. Now it's going to be, it's like, I don't know, the Citizen kind of documentary or something like that, I don't know. Have you seen the girl? Have you seen the girl now? Have we seen these girls? Are we keep seeing these girls? I know we are seeing these girls. But these girls are seen in YouTube. In YouTube, I see things in YouTube. I see things in Vimeo. They are not here. You probably see those same things. I see photographs sometimes from your local paper to the New York Times. It's a photograph, and it's much better than a whole film. You want simple photograph of, I don't know, Pakistan or New York, or I don't know, one photograph. So the problem is showing and its distribution, and its the problem is this: it's not making the films, and that I'm very skeptic and pessimistic, and we shouldn't be talking about that much. We should be talking about.
The curious thing is
about things that filmmakers say.
That's something which is, for me, it's a curiosity, because it's now I think you have been attacked by Vitalina Varela in certain ways. Maybe you don't know. I know, because as soon as there's a whole controversy about your work. And when I see from those 2000 till now, a lot of things have happened in your cinema. And now that I think, especially with Vitalina, according to my way of understanding the film, is perhaps the most popular film you ever made. I would say the core of the film is popular cinema. And but still, a lot of things has happened. Now you are being, the prejudice now is because you have achieved something amazing in terms of what happened in the darkness. Darkness in this film is something like you have to. It's like the old problems with language, how to refer towards the different whites. You have achieved something, and that is again through time. And then here in this film particularly, there is a kind of understanding of sounds that for me is absolutely new in this film particularly. So, but again, it seems to be that that always there is a controversy about the way you work, especially because you are working with dispossessed people. Like, and I see that for me the core of your films came from a kind of, first of all, a human meeting between those people and you, and I don't see any difference. There's different education and background, but from my point of view, there is something which is a cooperative film in certain ways. And I think Vitalina Varela cannot be done without Vitalina Varela. So, do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about those ideas and, I mean, ideas about the film. I'm just concerned that I think a film should be seen without... You're not inside the film, you know. A film is a film. A film is a film. You're not in Vitalina. You, Roger, you will never be there. And that's probably the problem with some form of, I wouldn't even say criticism, because it is not. It's a way of projecting. It's really about projecting, because some form of, let's not say criticism, just say response to a film, to a work, is that you don't need to be in that film. You know, it's something we all feel, I think. The real difficult thing is not to be in the film and see it like it is, you know? Like, that's a guy and that's a woman, that's the problem. And I'm not there. I'm not, you know? So a part of those comments, or a lot of comments, not only about me or about, are about this. People should not, I think, shouldn't put themselves in films, their own selves, like spectators. I mean, because they won't see the film. So my concern is, are you really seeing Wanda? Are you really seeing Vitalina? And now I have to say something that, I'm sorry, I have to say it, like I saw. But I have to see this. I have to tell you this. I saw her. Maybe in an awful way, maybe bad, maybe I skipped and I didn't see a lot of facets of her. But I tried for a long time, for the best I could, with the best of what cinema gave me, which perhaps not a lot, but that's what I have from cinema. I'm armed, in a good sense, with a certain, I don't know, way of seeing and way of hearing, and patience now, and tolerance, and even tolerance, because in my films now there are a lot of things I don't agree with, because they write the films. Everything that Vitalina says, she wrote. She didn't write, she told me. And I said, "Do you want to say that? That's heavy." And she says, "No, you have to, it's what I want." Okay. Sometimes I don't agree that much. I think, watch out. Or, do you think so? Yeah. Even with Wanda. So they are much more tolerant. If I wrote them, it will be a lesson in intolerance completely, in bêtise, in stupidity, for me. So I think if you try to see a film that interests you for any reason, it's interesting or beautiful, or interesting and beautiful, try to see it 2 times, 3 times. Try to, pull yourself back from the film. Try not to identify or to, if you're going to see the film, it's, I don't know, a pain because you don't know how to pay the rent, or you have a problem with your boss, or your father shouted and you're really feel guilty that day, because that will be in the film. It will always be in the film, your life. It will also be in a painting. If you go to the Rijksmuseum, it will be in every painting. I think that you have to be patient and work a little bit to remove yourself from those places, to see better, to see a little bit better. I think some of those criticisms have to do about that, and about the lack of knowledge of how things are done. And, I think, because I'm not, if it's a question of economics or even art, I'm not hiding anything. I'm not hiding the money, I'm not hiding the tools. It's dark, it is dark. It's a story about darkness. We worked a lot to just, how can we make a film that could be the expression of Vitalina's environment at that time. And knowing that we cannot invent light, we cannot create light, that would be impossible and stupid. We remember, because we lived there for 1 year. We remember Saturday when it was like that. Let's do that. That was something. Remember? Yes, it was here. It's very, very real. We work with models, and our models are our memory of what happened in lightning, for instance, with the light. So our work with light, with this kind of darkness, we just do the best we can. And as I'm now always saying in every talk, I think people are, the standards are much lower now. It's not my film that is something. The standards are very low now. I mean, films are made in the street with, Mercedes-Benz, and the sun will be what we will be, or it's America, or it's Batman Returns, etc. I mean, if you go see a Mizoguchi film, let's say any Mizoguchi film, you wouldn't say it's good photography or it's beautiful. It's something. It's a whole thing. I mean, you're exhausted. Just one shot leaves you breathless in the sense that it's an operation in fucking you up mentally, eyes, ears. It's an experience. It's an experience that involves all senses. And the guys who used to do this kind of experience were guys that knew their jobs. I mean, they knew it in Hollywood. They knew it in Tokyo. They knew it in Mosfilm. They knew it everywhere. Today, I mean, not so much. I think there are some guys alone. For me, the guy who knows more about this, Godard is a bit far out in Venus, but the guy who knows more about this, and seeing his films, you don't see a beautiful picture, let's say, is Wang Bing, but it's really the most beautiful films you can see, because everything is correct, everything is there, everything is right. I mean, The light is there, the sound is there, the word is there, the tear is there or not there. I mean, it's his sensibility, and when he saw that, and it's the most, as I told you, I think the most beautiful gifts we have. Some of the most beautiful gifts we have. There's other guys, of course. I was talking about Wang Bing because he's, just to tell you, he's more or less alone. There's 2, 3 guys always. He has a big subject, China, of course. He doesn't have time to do everything, but he does it carefully. I mean, when he does it well, he does it carefully. If he's not spoiled by Paris and sales agents, I hope. But I think he can resist. He's tough. He's strong, and he's alone. And he's a painter. He's a painter, actually. You know, he has a China, and he has a preoccupation, a certain concern about, you know, every film he makes. It's like, see, it's not well. It's not well. Something's wrong. And I assure you, Bresson, John Ford, Ozu, what those guys did was just one thing. See, there's something not right. There's something not working here. It's father. Or maybe it was that little boy in the third scene you saw. You're almost going to forget him, but that's not well. We're telling a story, we're going with soldiers, but remember that small boy? That's something that you have to think about. Those guys were interested in this kind of thing, telling you that the world, the society was something doesn't work. So you try to infuse to, you know, Hollywood, they try to do details. Sometimes they couldn't do you have Grapes of Wrath, of course, and it's absolutely what it is. And then you had B movies, monster movies or ghost movies, and there was a scene, and he said, what, like, you know, I don't know. Now I remember Wichita, a cowboy film made by Jacques Tourneur. There's a shot. Try to watch this film. You can watch it on YouTube or something. You will be hurt at one moment in this film because you will see something that you will never see in a recent, done with such a, I don't know what's the word. Well, you will see a little boy get killed in a way that you've never seen, you will never see again, and it will make you think for hours and hours, and it will be with you for the rest of your lives. And it's a moment in the middle of a banal cowboy plot. So they knew how to do things. They knew and they wanted, and they tried to. Just it's a cruel world. It's a bad society. We are hurting each other. We are. So what I mean is that there were the great artists like Mizoguchi that were always saying that. I mean, and it was more or less plain. But that on the other side, the other guys did it also, and it was less visible, less. Today the game is not the same. I mean, the game is not the same. It seems that we are all here in Rotterdam defending the same thing. I'm not sure. So, and now I would like to hear people talk about this, because I'm really not sure that we are all in the same boat. It's too late, probably. I need a whiskey.
Yes, I don't know if there is. We don't have time, but yes, please.
I'm so sorry.
Good evening, both of you. You may find this absurd, Mr. Costa, but I see a lot of similarities between Vitalina Varela and Lubitsch's Heaven Can Wait. I think that, I know you may find this absurd, but there's something about the presence of goodness and evil in your films. You know, people call you some, like, Caravaggio with a fucking camcorder. So yeah, I'd like you to kind of speak about the presence of goodness and evil and that, that line, because it seems to me that there's so much darkness in your film, but, there is always a kind of shed of light, like what, and we've talked about, in this masterclass, like what do you see that is still good despite,
Don't you want to? I don't know if we can talk about that. It's wonderful if you see that. If you see these films, this is a ray of light, just you. At your age, seeing this kind of thing that Lubitsch is very complicated, complex, difficult not to make, to see. I had this experience. I tried in a certain place to show Trouble in Paradise to young people, much younger than you. It was very confusing really. They didn't know who was who, why did she do that, and the film. I don't know if you know the film. It's not that. But it tells you a lot of things how the world is, not cinema. How the world is, because kids today, it was too complex. A comedy, sophisticated comedy by Lubitsch, too complex. So the real ray, sunlight, the real ray is you seeing this film and thinking about that. That's what I can say.
Have you seen any films by James Gray? I know he's a Hollywood filmmaker.
Now you have become very old. You are so young. 5 seconds ago. Sure, I've seen some films. I have a dispute with him because once he told something and I responded. He made a film that I saw in bed with my girlfriend on the computer, like we see films. Hollywood big films we see in the computer with a pillow. This is, I think, one we saw. It was called...
The Immigrant?
No, In the Jungle.
Lost City of Z.
Yes.
And good. Let's see more.
I implore you to watch Ad Astra, which is...
No, but what? And then I saw... we were at the same festival at the same time or something, and he said something in this kind of Q&A that I really didn't like. And I thought, why is a guy like that makes a film like that, which is nice, something's nice there. Well, there's a lot of things that I wouldn't... I'm not for that kind of thing, because, or is it for everybody to do, or not for 3 or 4? I don't think. But he said, I shot at 35, because cinema is 35 millimeters, and it would have been too easy to do it in digital. And I was furious. I'm always furious, because these guys think it's easy to shoot on digital. They think it's easy to shoot something, probably, which is nonsense, and it's a contradiction with what he wants to do, or perhaps he failed a little bit. The film is not what he intended. Perhaps he wanted to do something like probably King Vidor, or people that I think that he wants to do. He wants to do Northwest Passage, which was... you have to see that. That's... or even bigger than that, or at the same level, The Big Sky. He cannot do The Big Sky. It's not the same time, it's not the same people, it's not the same society, it's not the same camera, it's not the same mind, etc. But then the fact that he says it would have been too easy to do it in digital, It makes me very, because we kill ourselves to do these films. I do, and maybe you do if you do a film in digital. Who knows? I hope you do. I mean, like Céline, the writer Céline, he used to say, you should leave your skin on the table. Every time you write a word, your skin should be on the table. It's the same feeling. If you're shooting something, you have to leave it, your body, your soul there. If not, it's no use. It's no use. Go. Yeah. 3 elephants and Sean Penn. It's okay. So it's not easy. It's very difficult. It's even more difficult to do it in digital than 35 because it's so poor digital. It's so, we all know it. It was much better. Technicolor it was wonderful, so rich, so beautiful, so, the sun, the clouds, everything, the sky. Digital is worse. So to get to the same results as 35 in digital, for me, I have to work much more than he does. So it makes me a bit sad and angry, this stupidity. They think there is a difference in putting a camera, in a place. There's no difference. It might be, you might have 500 people around the camera or just you with your iPhone. It's the same thing. It's Griffith's thing. It's Lumiere's thing. Or Méliès, if you want. It's the same thing. So these kind of statements make me angry. The film is okay, but he made me angry. And then I think he responded. And I would say he's an American good guy. Not bad. No, I was more impressed by... maybe I have to see this film Ad Astra. I saw it on a plane. I don't know if you like it was like this. It might be... there was a few moments that I still remember from that film, The Immigrant. Still some scenes. So it is more interesting, I think, than a lot of other American filmmakers. I don't know.
Maybe it's true that we have to finish in 2 minutes and 14 seconds, so can we disobey a little bit or not? A little bit. That's a lovely little bit, yes.
Thanks so much for the masterclass, because I've been having existential crisis thinking of my debut feature, and I was thinking the same things. I needed a push, someone like to just say it too, because mentally I felt like I'm being, raped by all these producers and sales agents and trying to drink with them and persuade them how good my movie should be. Thanks so much for this. When you say about like being economic when doing the debut, like the first feature, what do you mean? Like trying to find the money, like from your, like taking from credit cards and stuff, and making with friends, or you still need a little bit of money to make something?
Well, it depends. If you're completely into documentary, maybe alone with a friend who makes the sound, you can invest perhaps if you have some savings or something. If you have actors, or even if they are not professional, and I know for sure that you would like to pay people, of course, like I do. Of course, you have to think about the budget. Or when I turned around this idea, this vision, or this way of doing things, I did it completely alone. So me with a small camera Even I didn't even have sound. I had just a microphone attached, and this was 20 years ago. So I didn't have money, really. I bought the camera, I bought tapes, I bought a microphone, everything very cheap. And then was the daily life. I, of course, made everybody understand that there would be no money for. And I was in a kind of documentary research. The camera was a little bit at that moment like a notebook or a photography camera or something. So much that I shot and shot and shot, and they were always telling me, so when do we begin? And I was telling them it began a long time ago. I've been filming. I was lucky, this is something I didn't tell before, but I had this push of luck, or I don't know, or supernatural, I don't know. I found a place and I found people. So I don't have to go look for stories or things, or, you know, I don't, or ideas. I have a place. It's so strange that this place existed and now it doesn't exist anymore. It was physical and now it doesn't exist. It's just imaginary. It was a bunch of houses, it was a neighborhood, community, ghetto, and then it was demolished. People were divided, separated. But the thing, not for me, it's not a film mythology or mystification. For them, it was demolished, but it still exists. It exists as an idea, as a dream, as a nightmare, as a way to escape. You know, it was a house. It's very simple. For me, it was like a metaphor of film, a house. It's like our house, and then you have it, you try to live in it the best you can. Sometimes you have dreams inside the house or nightmares, and then you want to, you know, escape this house or come back to this house. And then they take it away from you. So they take away the neighbor, and they take away the street, and they take away the lamp, and they take away the dog. Everything that surrounds a house, a little bush. And this house, you made it with your hands, you know, brick by brick. All the houses were made by hand. So I had this kind of place. Always call it a studio. It was a little studio. And every actor was inside the houses, and they were dressed, and they were makeup, and every day everything began. It was a cycle of life, and I was there more or less to record, to simply record or invent a story from things they told me, stuff like that. Then it was taken away from them and from me. So I lost my studio, I lost my... but I kept the actors. And these actors became more complex. You know, they became more lost. They began... I think I saw them think in another way. They kept thinking, what shall we do now? And how we're going to live like this? Should we go back to our homeland? Should we commit suicide? And it existed. It happened. First film I did after this, it was called Colossal Youth. There was a moment, it was a film that we shot for 2 years. You know, people were born, people would die. When you make a film when, you know, people die and babies are born, it's something else. It's different. It makes you, you know, there's no time to talk about money and cars and chicks. That's what they talk in film shootings. film chicks, boys, cars, money. Today, perhaps iPhones, computers. 2 years you film this, so you are in another state of mind. So I remember there was a lot of suicides because people were completely lost. They lost everything. They lost, their, like you used to say, the roots, the ground. So I went with them and I shot that problem, that the problems of everyday life and that situation. But always in the spirit that you have to take care of that story and take care of the story in a way, Do not let it slip to the bad side, to the stupid side of stories. Lubitsch, take care like Lubitsch. Lubitsch, I'm sure no, that's too stupid. Let's think for another hour. I'm sure, and then, what about this? Yeah, that maybe, but maybe this is better. So, do not give up to the first impulse. So that's what I've been doing now. They become more and more, perhaps more sad or more pessimistic or more complex because life has become like that for them and for me a little bit because I'm with them. So each problem is new and each problem deserves to be filmed in a way. So it's more than, I'm waiting for a good problematic thing to appear in front of me and try to analyze it and film it in a way that can be interesting, visually and sound like it used to be for me, an experience in cinema, in a cinema. But I'm nothing against seeing a film in an iPhone. Absolutely nothing. And I love watching in the train because I take the train every day. Bresson is very good in an iPhone for me. Absolutely, no.
We have to stop. They said stop. Thank you so much.